People on the spiritual path, which is everybody, so let me rephrase that. People on the conscious spiritual path can be too busy with spiritual doing instead of balancing that with just being. And there can come a time when we notice that, and if we don't, that's why I post this little talk to make one aware of it, that could be the case, that there is that a balance is missing. And then we can be too busy with meditating as a form of doing instead of being, sitting in silence, being with what is, being with what arises, because that is actually what meditation is, to allow everything to be what arises when sitting. And then we might be busy with reading books and doing workshops and watching video clips. Welcome. And don't get me wrong, all this has its rightful place on the journey for quite some time, because it is helpful for the mind to come to a certain understanding of what our true nature is about and what the journey is about, and to support that with understanding certain knowledge. However, you might want to be aware that this also can become the next distraction to avoid being what we truly are. And by that, to avoid falling into the silence of our true nature. By keeping ourselves busy with spiritual doing. And to not take the time to just be with what is. To just be. And then we wonder about, what can I do next? Instead of, what is it that I am? And to be that. And to try to achieve by doing, instead of just being what we already are. Because actually there's nothing to achieve. The achieving is the movement that keeps one away from the experience. But the conditioned mind, as the creator of the elusive me, let's call it the me mind, its nature is to do. And by that it keeps the experience of being a me going. The me mind is movement. It needs to be on the move, and so by spiritual doing, it can stay involved. And so it thinks, what do I have to do? And even thinking is a way of doing. And so the question itself can become a sort of its own trance to stay in the domain of the me mind. Because the question itself already suggests movement instead of experiencing what you are by non-doing, by being in the moment. And so the question is already a way to avoid experiencing what we truly are. And it's just really the same strategy as any next person does, who is not consciously on the path, distracting themselves, from their nobodiness, by watching television, by shopping, by eating, by social media, and all the things we do. And of course, there's nothing wrong with all these ways to entertain oneself. However, if we do it in a compulsive way, then it might have become the next strategy of mine to avoid the emptiness of being. And by that, avoiding the reality of what we are and experiencing what we are. The mind on its own is not interested in exploring our true nature because there's nothing to gain for the mind. It would be facing its own non-existence, which means the end of its delusion to be of any real substance. It might think it wants enlightenment, but it overlooks that it will not be a part of that. And so actually there is no mind, not even a spiritual me mind, interested in that what we are. It's only interested in something when getting something out of it. It wants enlightenment for its own sake. Maybe it has certain fantasies about it, how it would make life much better. However, the thing is that what wants enlightenment is in the way of experiencing it. And so it is important to be aware of that and to join the silence within you consciously instead. To just be what you want to move away from by doing. And to not follow this reflex. It is a choice we can make. Resistance may arise when we do not follow the impulse of doing. To not pick up that next book or to not watch a next video. And instead to feel the resistance of staying where you are, to not move. And with to not move, I mean the movement of mind, to just watch it, observe it, to not join it. And then it will throw up resistance because it doesn't want to join the silence, it doesn't want to be. And so be curious how it feels in the body, this when not calling it resistance. Feel how it's just energy moving around and give it all the space it needs. Be the infinite container in which it can move. And soon, when being okay with that, and you do not have to like it, but the energy will dissolve. The energy of first the reflex, then the resistance. And then there's a falling through it into just being, to be fine with just that. And this is how we consciously can break the reflex of compulsive spiritual doing. And if you still prefer doing after listening to this, then ask yourself, what is it that I am doing that unenlightens me? Spoiler alert, this question brings you straight back to the way you distract yourself from being what you already are. Because there's no way, there's no way we can do our being. It is just that what we are. You are already it. And what you are cannot be achieved by doing. At least not by the doing of the conditioned me mind. So yes, there can be insights because of what we read or listen to that have a profound, deep effect on us. And in that way, the spiritual doing, one could say, is okay. but it does need to be balanced with being as the silence that you are, to become familiar with that place and to relax into that. So this is an invitation to find that balance. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for listening and be well. Bye-bye.